like, I'm so excited. I love being baited and switched. If I was a billionaire, if I was like Elon Musk rich, oh my god, why am I getting emotional? I think I'm stalling finishing the Raven Boys because hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Léna, and today we're doing a Raven Boys reading vlog, or more like a rereading vlog. This is The Raven Boys by Maggie stiefvater. It is the first book in the tetralogy of the Raven Cycle, and the Raven Cycle also has a spin-off trilogy called the Dreamer Trilogy that is coming to an end this October. As I got into this series when I first started uni, and I'm finishing uni now, I feel like it's really a full circle moment to just reread the book, get to dive back into those feelings and those experiences that I got when I was younger. My god, how old am I? 6 years ago though. Just a quick summary before we dive into my feelings about everything. So the Raven Boys follows Blue Sergeant, who is the daughter of a psychic. She lives in a house with her mother, her aunt, and her mother's friend, who are all psychic. Every single woman in her family is psychic except her. And ever since she was born, basically, there's been a curse or a prophecy that when she kisses her true love, he will die. And so Blue grew up to be this very a sensible young woman who kind of avoids getting attached to anyone, and they live in a town in West Virginia called Henrietta, and in this town there's a private school, an all-boys private school. One day she kind of crosses paths with 4 boys from this school, which is Aglenby. The mascot for the Aglenby is a raven, and so those are the Raven Boys. So it's Gansey, who is an extremely rich son of politicians who is looking for a dead Welsh king, allegedly dead, allegedly maybe alive, in Henrietta, where it seems like psychic energy is quite powerful. There's Ronan, who is a quite traumatized young boy who found his father and who is really kind of angry and taking out on people and has a very conflictual relationship with his brother. There's Adam, who is a scholarship student and is quite poor. He's really trying to basically get out of Henrietta, and this private school scholarship is his way out, even though he has to juggle multiple jobs and an abusive father. And there's Noah, who is kind of quiet and not very present, and so by accident Blue becomes kind of entangled in their quest for this king in their lives, and they form a friendship and they discover magic essentially. So this is the resume of the book, and now let's go into the vlog. Hey. So today it is October 1st. I started my Raven Cycle reread about earlier this week. I also borrowed the audiobook from the library so that I can just switch back and forth between the two. I'm unfortunately only at page 36. Yeah, I'm only on page 36, but I'm actually kind of emotional reading it because it's just it's the beginning of everything. They're children that haven't been through much yet, and it's just also reading my annotations. Already on my last reread I was feeling super emotional and just being just glad to be in this universe again, I guess, and also just noticing how good the author is at world building and character building especially. So of course a lot of books can be, especially young adult books, can have kind of a very straightforward description of what the characters look like and how they act, and just give you their type right away. And there is a little bit of that in there. There's just stuff that's just so endearing about how she writes the characters. It's a lot of fun. The writing is fun, even the audiobook is fun. But like, I'm so excited! See you soon. I'm going on a walk to do some errands. Why does this look so 70s? Look at my hair, leather jacket. Oh, I'm into it.
I've got the best of interventions, but when the ads go, I think about it now. In my infliction on drugs.
So I am back from my errands, my little walk. I did get a Starbucks drink. I haven't done that in a while. That was not very frugal of me, quite honestly. But yes, okay, so let's get back to what we were talking about. So far, I know I've talked a lot about like character building, etc. But what is so exciting about the first book of the series is how like the plot moves and how it moves in a way that feels very like fate-like and almost tragedy-like. The moment where Blue is in the diner and she sees President's cell phone, like gansey, on the phone, then she gets a phone call that her mother is like, yeah, he just got an appointment at the parlor, and then he comes out to her and it's like, yeah, my friend likes you and he's a dick about it. And it's like, they don't know yet, but it's like, it's literally fate, like, but it's also obviously kind of a tragedy because, well, gansey is supposed to die. Like, highlights how much preparation and like planning went into writing this, because I find stuff and little like nuggets of phrases and stuff that are foreshadowing for the current series, like the Dreamer trilogy series. So she's been thinking about this. And there's also, and of course, one of my favorite themes, I guess, is also how a lot of chapters have been positioning like Adam and Gansey as kind of foils of one another, especially with this notion of need versus want, or like longing for Gansey and need for Adam, and how this all comes to a head. The Dream Thieves, yeah, it's, and the fact that like, yeah, so Blue found Gansey's journal, but she's like, it couldn't be Gansey's because the way it looks is like, it feels like it should be Adam's. But Adam's, when he was in Monmouth, he was like, I want to be on the inside how Monmouth is on the outside. So like, there's already this idea of like distorted perceptions and like presenting a certain idea of yourself without, and being different inside, and also how the way you perceive yourself is not necessarily how others perceive you. And it's just the layers. I love this series. It's so good.
I've got the adequate committee. Where have your walls gone? I think about it now. Chicago in fashion, the Celtics expansion of Columbia. From Paris incentive, by cream of wheat invented the Ferris
wheel. Okay, it's coming up again, like the idea that so at this point in the book, so Blue has found Gansey's journal, and she doesn't think that it's Gansey's journal. She thinks it's probably Adam's, and she's reading it and learning all about this like treasure hunt, this hunt for Glendower, and she goes to Persephone hoping that she could get some intel about the journal. And Persephone says something about how this journal seems like the search of someone who's doing the searching for the sake of it. The fragments were intriguing but unnecessary. Whoever put that journal together must love the hunt itself, the process of research. And that's the thing, it's all about the longing. I don't think that Gansey's thing is that he's longing for something. It's that he's longing too long because he doesn't know. He doesn't know need. He only knows want. And even when he wants something, usually it's easy for him to get it because he has so much access and money. And so this thing that he clings onto, he has no reason really to finish finding it. Of course, at the end of the book, or like halfway through the book, it becomes different because it becomes more desperate, but it's also because we arrived in the picture and she set more things in motion, more things happened, and now the search for Blender and the idea of a wish becomes important. But Gansey doesn't want the wish. He has nothing to wish for. What he wants is to find something and to have something that he feels he can earn. And he even says that in a previous chapter. So interesting, isn't it? I'm just taking a break to say I love when characters that are going to be significant in the future are introduced. Like right now they just introduced Kavinsky, which is so funny because when you like, I read some fan fiction sometimes, and like in the way to tag Kavinsky is like Kavinsky is his own warning. That's just so funny to me, and like, yeah, he absolutely is. I think I'm gonna take a break from the reading and just and listen to the audiobook while I make pasta because it's getting kind of late and I need to eat. So yeah. Why do people claim that making rice is hard? Ooh, crispy. Do you hear that? I love it. I just love rice. Okay, see you. We are back in the kitchen. It is Sunday evening. I'm wearing makeup because I just had a failed video interview. Well, tonight I have time to cook, so I'm going to make savory oatmeal. It's really good. Just trust me. Well, it's not aesthetic, but it's delicious, so yep. I just finished chapter 15, which is not my favorite chapter, but it's like such an exciting moment as a first reader and also as like a rereader because it's like everything is coming to a head. Everyone is finally converging in the same room, and it's the catalyst. It's where shit starts to go down. So also when Blue says, oh wow, I can't believe that I was worried about like Gansey dying when during all this time it was me who was going to fucking kill him. I was like, little did you know. I forget how many iconic moments there are in this book every time I read it. So I finished chapter 16 and we can see how like we have Vernon still having this secret that's weighing heavily on him, and we have like Gansey kind of battling with his death wish kind of, or his death impulse. Of course Noah who says don't throw it away, and Ronan who in a way has more information than everyone here about what's going on, who is, I don't want to say that he's withholding, but he's definitely keeping things to himself. And that's what I find so interesting about this series is that okay, so I know how it's gonna end, but I'm so fascinated by the way it creates mystery, not by being ignorant about what is going to happen or by intentionally withholding information, but just by giving you things that you don't think are important until you know. That's why it's so fascinating and entertaining and rewarding to reread, because it's like so good at foreshadowing. Like it's so intentional in that way and it doesn't feel like it's toying with you as a reader. A lot of thrillers that are kind of mediocre are afraid to give their audience the tools to figure it out, like to figure the story out, because they want the audience to feel that the writing is smarter than them. But I think that Maggie Stiefvater really isn't afraid of that at all. I think she's excited to bring you along with this, and she's giving you pretty much everything. The only things that she doesn't give you is because of the character's limited perspective. That's why we don't have a run-in point of view chapter in the first book, because otherwise it wouldn't work. But yeah, okay, good night. So I'm on campus. I'm trying to find somewhere where it won't be too awkward that I'm vlogging, but basically I just finished like episode chapter 16, 17. It's quite interesting that I like Whelk as the first villain of the series because he's such a banal and basic villain. He's like Anna Arendt says, like the banality of evil. He's evil, but he's so like basically so, you know. He's like the villainy comes from him peaking in high school and being supremely entitled white man, basically. And that's so interesting because he's entitled and he craves control over the natural and over the rest of the world. Like he wants to control the Lee line. And so that's what's interesting because it's like a theme that's very reoccurring in the series and then later in the Dreamer trilogy, that like control over the natural elements, whether they're magical or just like, you know, how humans have basically colonized the natural world. And there's also one thing that I think is pretty well done from Maggie Stiefvater is to actually make the love triangle compelling and almost tragic. Like you realize that Blue genuinely likes Adam, but that fate makes it so that she will come to love Gansey. And it's compelling because Gansey and Adam also have this relationship between them that Blue, in a way, envies, like their bond, their friendship, the point that they're almost brothers. This is something that Blue has never experienced. And so that's what makes it compelling. It's not just two guys vying for attention from a girl, but it's really about a dynamic of three people and how they will come to love each other and care for each other, not necessarily in ways that they expected. That's why it's such a good love triangle, because it's not like, which one will I choose? It's like, actually, Blue does make the choice early on. She says, it's gonna be Adam, but it doesn't work out. But it doesn't mean that Adam loses, because he's still a part of this three-way relationship, you know?
Oh, great white city, I've got the adequate committee. Where have your walls gone? I think about it now. Chicago in fashion, the Celtics expansion, Columbia. From Paris, incentive, I dream of we invented the famous wheel.
So, I was supposed to have class until 9 p.m., but I had the pleasure of getting a class cancelled, so I picked up some bubble tea. So now I'm a little bit more than halfway through listening to audiobooks in public. Is that you can't really get emotional to the extent that you want to when you want to. Like, okay, so I just finished chapter 26 and 27. Chapter 26 is when they go back into the forest and they finally hear the trees speaking, and the trees are like welcoming them, and like it's just so emotional. When the trees call Ronan greywaren, I almost cried in the metro because it's like, you know, it's like that's him, you know? And the fact that the last book in the series is going to be called Greywaren. Anyways, I just get emotional. It's starting to get really sad at this point also. Because I think in the next chapter, they're going to find a body and things are going to rush and the plot picks back. One of my biggest like life goals and dreams is to actually see a Raven Cycle TV adaptations and even maybe like work on it. Like that would be a fucking dream of mine. Like if I was a billionaire, if I was like Elon Musk rich, I would absolutely like buy the rights and get an adaptation made like right now. And the thing is, there are so many ways to adapt this story that would be so satisfying even if it's not entirely faithful. I always joke like it would be so funny if like the CW picked it up and it was a really bad adaptation like Shadowhunters, you know, but you could also make it something that's really like artful and exciting. And I would be like, I always think about a live action and animated series because I feel like the problem with a live action fantasy, urban fantasy, magical realism is that it's really ugly unless you have the budget. And I know animation is not cheap, but I think mixing live action and animation can be a really interesting way to show like one how where was I going? Yeah. Okay, so how magic creeps into everyday life, and also how overwhelmingly beautiful and sprawling and like fantastic magic and nature is. I think animation has more suggestive power when it comes to visual and magic. Kids entertainment understood that to show something that is fantastical and absurd and just sublime, you go with animation. And I think it would be interesting to see like more young adult or like adult stories get that kind of mixed treatment between like the harsh realities of everyday life, so live action, and the beauty of nature and magic. And so that would be animation. Just a thought. Just a thought. If any producers out there want me to develop this, hit me up. My email is down there. So today was a day. I had 6 hours of class. I'm so tired, but the part of the book where it's the climax, basically. They found Noah. I mean, we're building up to the climax. They found Noah. They're trying to figure out what happened to him. Gansey is about to get kidnapped. Does he get kidnapped? I don't remember. Anyways, Gansey has finally encountered whelk, and everything is kind of falling into place. But I have to take a break to show you my haul. Since it is pumpkin season, this is not a pumpkin. I don't know how you call it in French, in English. Actually, it's a petit marron, but it's like the same family as pumpkin. It's like une courge. I don't know how you say it in English. It's like I don't know. I'll Google it. Anyways, things are getting intense. So yeah, just look at my wait. Thumbnail. Oh no. Not thumbnail. So, two things. One is that whelk is kind of positioned as a foil for Gansey. So like they're both extremely rich. He says it. He says, I was just like you. I thought I was invincible. But also the narrative, and Noah also says, would you be scared of Gansey? Would you not trust him? And also the narrative says that Gansey struggles to give his friends their agency. He doesn't understand why Ronan cannot do as he wants. He doesn't understand why Adam is so stubborn in pursuing what he wants the way he wants to. And in a way, that's his fatal flaw in this book. And Whelk also is incredibly selfish and puts his wants before anyone else, but he's also violent and entitled, and he lashes out. And I guess it's interesting to see that, like, kind of not necessarily a mirrored image, more like a twisted, a funhouse mirror image that's like, this is what Gansey could have been had he not almost died, basically. And then we have the fact that Gansey and those fates are tied, and just the relationship between Adam and Blue and Gansey, and just the way Adam wants to be Gansey and Gansey wants to be Adam, and how they both have this formula where like Ronan wants to be how Monmouth is on the outside, which is like Gansey, and Gansey wants to be like the pig is on the outside, like Adam, and they were like so intensely wanting to be the other, which is so unbearable for either of them because they cannot see, you know? And then there's Blue in the middle of it. Gansey is telling Adam how he and Blue found Noah's body, and Adam is feeling jealous, but he doesn't know what his jealousy stems from. He doesn't know if he wishes that he had this discovery with Gansey or with Blue, and it's just the dynamic. Like, yeah, this is the shit. Gansey showing how like white and clueless he is by being like, we'll just tell the police. Like, are you fucking insane? You want to tell the police the location of a priceless magical forest? Get a grip. My god. Also, just overall, chapter 35 is such a fun chapter because it has no point of view. It's mostly dialogue and just like everyone coming together in the same room and putting everything they know into one piece. That's one of my favorite moments in like movies and TV shows, when they all come together and it's like this and this and this, and it all comes together. But usually then they leap to action, they make up a plan. But here they're not really making a plan, which is, well, you know how it goes. Chapter 36. This still fucking hits. Like, God. So if you don't know, Adam Parrish is like my favorite character of all time, probably. And this chapter is so, well, it's hard because he's like, it's the first time that we see his abuse, and so it's a difficult chapter, but it's also like the thesis statement of Adam as a character, and like he says something that I've carried with me like for years now. Oh my god, why am I getting emotional? But like he has this phrase, and he's talking about how he's seeing like Ronan get into the car, and like he doesn't know what's gonna happen. Like he's thinking, okay, so he can go to jail because of me, or he's also thinking like the things that I can do to stop it, they are going to completely upset my world. And he knew from the beginning of the book, he knew that he had a choice to make, that if he didn't make that choice would be made for him. But it's still, the most important thing to him is his agency. And it's still on Adam Parrish's terms or not at all. And this is obviously what pushes him to do what he does, that kicks the whole thing into gear, which is, I love him so much. Like, yeah, this is a hard chapter. It's even harder with the audiobook because like the emotion, of course, in your brain you can do voices and stuff, but it's very different to read it. It makes it that much more real. It's a character that I think about a lot, that I have a lot of like love and affection for because, well, who's doing it like him? No one. There is not one young adult character who's doing it like Adam Parrish. Secret protagonist of the series, dare I say. The post-hospital chapter is hard for me because this is the chapter where I kind of stopped liking Gansey. I don't know how to put it, but it's just, I always get so mad at him at this point. And I just think I never recovered from that chapter. Does it make sense? Like, during the entire first book, Gansey is like flawed, but you forgive him. But he just doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. Like, it's so frustrating. Like, and then he does like the self-pitying thing, like, I wish my parents never told the 4-syllable words. Like, shut up. Shut the fuck up. Ugh. Okay, well, I do like Gansey again when he says crushed and broken, just the way women like him. Because that's pretty true. He's right. And he's likable at that moment. Hi. Coming to you live from my bedroom again. Except this time we have McDonald's. But I am determined today to finish the Raven Boys. Hi, it's Friday morning. If I'm being honest, I think I'm stalling finishing the Raven Boys because I don't want it to be over, and I don't want this series to be over. Like, some people already got their greywaren copy, and I just pre-ordered mine. This is yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna feel when this ends. Like, this was my emotional support book series for 6 years. Like, who am I without it, you know? But I'm going back home for the weekend. Hopefully I can rest, sleep more than 10 hours in a row, finish the Raven Boys, start the Dream Thieves. You know how it is. See you. You guys, I don't think you realize how important and like pivotal to the series and my life this moment is. Like, Adam Parrish, most character of all time. Honestly, I think it's the first time I've cried reading this chapter, probably because it feels a bit like a goodbye tour, so it's a bit hard. Like, I don't want to leave these characters. This is fine. Okay, I need to talk about how the way the relationship between Adam and Gansey is evolving in this. It's just so fascinating because Gansey thinks that Adam doesn't understand, but actually Gansey doesn't understand. Like, he has this thing that, like, I'm gonna make an awful comparison, but like, okay, so in politics, sometimes, and I think I'm thinking about actually Emmanuel Macron. But like sometimes politicians will introduce like reforms and people will be against the reforms and they'll be like, okay, well, we need to do education and pedagogy to make people understand why this reform is good. And they'll just believe that people just don't know that it's good for them, right? And gansey has kind of this same like attitude of believing that he just needs to explain better so that people will act the way he wants them to, not understanding that people aren't just not understanding what he wants, they have different motivations that are independent from him. And he's very like self-centered in the way that he's saying like, oh, was I so awful to you, you know? That's something, you know. And of course he's right in feeling scared and feeling like he lost something, or he lost his friend after Adam sacrifices himself, because in a way he did. And I think that is what is so fucking powerful to me about Adam's sacrifice in this book, is that, so he said when before he sacrificed, in his paragraph, he said he knew all about sacrifice, but from now most of the sacrifices he made have taken from him. And we know that he's been sacrificing, he's been staying with his parents, with his father who was abusing him emotionally and physically, and he was doing this because he thought it was the right thing to do at this particular time for his situation. But now he's making this sacrifice, he's giving away a part of himself, but the way that he chose, and it ends up actually empowering him and protecting him. The first thing that cabeswater does is protect him from harm. Like when he's a character who could have been defined by his abuse and his suffering, it's just, and his sacrifice led to him gaining something and gaining protection, and that's fucking insane. Anyways, it's real loving Adam Parrish hours, which is 24/7. Also, yes, I think he fully realizes, I wouldn't say his nature, but he really is actualized in that moment, because he truly realizes his goal, which is to be an equal with gansey, to be, well, not estranged from him, but to be particular, to be different, not just defined by his lack, but really by a true difference. Like they all remark on his changed air and changed appearance and changed demeanor, and I think in a way that is a form of actualization. Of course, it's problems. Of course, we know it's problems. I mean, the Dream Daves, we know what happens in there. It's problems all the way down, but it is actual character development. In this book, Adam and Blue are the only ones who undergo actual character development. Blue learns to trust people her age and to make friends and to look for her own purpose, and Adam starts to truly act and be empowered and be defined by something else than his circumstances, and be defined truly by his choices and not by his limitations. It is done, my dudes. It is done. This is such a good first book in the series. Of course, the second book is better, in my humble opinion, but like, I love The Run Boys so much. It's such a perfect bait and switch. I love being baited and switched. I mean, the back cover makes it sound like it's gonna be like a really stupid, silly, supernatural YA romance thing. It's like so much more. Oh my god. It's wild, it's addictive, it's some of the best characters ever put to paper. Anyways, it is like almost 2 a.m. I'm rambling and being incoherent. Okay, so I'm supposed to be asleep, but I'm thinking about it like it's giving me awake. Like the thesis of the book, which is really the thesis of most stories that follow like the hero's journey, is that things will never be the same again, and that you can't really ever go home or be a child again. Like, and you just have to move forward. You keep making choices, hopefully the right ones. My God, this is upsetting, you know. Jesus. This was the vlog. I hope you enjoyed it. As you can see, the further we get into the story, the more unhinged and emotional I got. If you like this, it is most definitely getting worse in the next installment of the series. It's actually the book of all time. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I just love this series so much, and I think I'm gonna get crazier and crazier as I reread and finally read the last book. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you read the Raven Cycle, if you plan to read it, if you're like doing a read along. I'll try to have like timestamps so that you know where to stop with your watch. I hope you also follow me in my adventures with the Dream Thieves.